Vanessa Bryant is sitting on what was once a $600 million empire, and insiders say she might be driving it straight into the ground. Since Kobe Bryant's untimely death, the future of his legacy has been in her hands, but instead of expanding it, moves have been made that some say could leave the estate bankrupt within a decade. If you're still watching, you know this story's just getting started. Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. We're talking burned bridges with Nike, abandoned global projects, lawsuits that drained millions, and media opportunities that could have immortalized Kobe's vision vanished. Is Vanessa protecting her late husband's dream or slowly dismantling it? Let's go back to the beginning. Kobe wasn't just an athlete, he was a business machine. By the time he retired from the Lakers, he had transformed himself into a global brand. His reach stretched far beyond the court. A sneaker empire with Nike, investments in tech and media, international business ventures, and entertainment projects that could have carried him into billionaire territory. He was obsessive about his work. Every detail, every design, every partnership had his fingerprints on it. When he passed, the control shifted entirely to Vanessa. Whether she wanted that job or not, she suddenly became the CEO of Kobe's global legacy. The first big crack showed up almost immediately with Nike. In the months after Kobe's death, his merchandise was gold. Fans were desperate to buy anything with his name on it. Sneaker drops sold out in seconds. Prices on the resale market skyrocketed. But behind the scenes, Vanessa's team and Nike couldn't see eye to eye on pricing and releases. Nike wanted to keep the Kobe brand alive in stores while the hype was hot. Vanessa reportedly wanted more control over how and when products were sold, possibly with higher prices and limited drops. The talks collapsed. The deal ended. Tens of millions in easy revenue evaporated. Yes, years later Vanessa struck a new deal with Nike, but by then, the momentum had died. Then came the lawsuits. The most public was Vanessa's case against LA County over the leaked crash site photos. From a personal and moral standpoint, it made sense to pursue it. But financially, the decision raised eyebrows. Reports say LA County offered a larger settlement early on, which could have saved years of legal battles and millions in attorney fees. Vanessa allegedly rejected it, dragging the case through the courts until she won $16 million. The headlines made it sound like a huge victory, but legal costs and settlements with other crash victims' families reportedly ate up a massive portion of that payout. Meanwhile, Kobe's other ventures, the ones that could have brought in steady income, began to disappear. The Mamba Academy? Shut down. Youth programs Kobe funded? Scrapped. International partnerships he had spent years cultivating? Quietly dropped. The one that still baffles fans. Kobe's unfinished memoir. Publishers saw it as a guaranteed bestseller, worth millions in advance money alone. Vanessa reportedly showed no interest. No book. No documentary tie-in. Nothing. That's when the whispers started. People who had worked with Kobe, some of them still bound by NDAs, hinted that many projects weren't just stalled, they were being deliberately shut down. It wasn't just about grief, it looked like a deliberate move toward shrinking the empire. Financial analysts began sounding alarms. With revenue streams drying up and expenses still massive, legal teams, security, luxury property maintenance, the math was ugly. If the current pace continued, the estate could be drained in 7 to 10 years. Kobe's daughters, who should have been set for life and beyond, might inherit a fraction of what was expected. And remember, Kobe wasn't done building. He was on track to be bigger in business than he ever was in basketball. There were international deals in China, Europe, and Africa. There were Hollywood projects, animated films, documentaries, even potential series, that could have built new revenue streams for decades. Most of these died after disagreements over creative control with Vanessa's team. Instead of expansion, the brand was contracting. Even Stephen A. Smith has weighed in, suggesting that while some of Vanessa's choices may make emotional sense, they don't add up from a business perspective. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes protecting a memory doesn't protect the money. The missed opportunities are staggering. The memoir that would have broken records. The docuseries streaming giants were ready to fight over. Animated projects that could have launched a family-friendly entertainment empire. all of it left on the table. Kobe's Oscar-winning short film had proven he could dominate Hollywood. This was supposed to be just the beginning. Instead, it feels like his legacy has been put in a glass case with a "do not touch" sign. What's worse, the silence from Kobe's former partners speaks volumes. Tech investors who used to proudly attach themselves to his name no longer bring it up. International business contacts have gone silent. Hollywood producers who once bragged about their connections to Kobe now act like those conversations never happened. Inside the Bryant camp, former employees have left and, in some cases, quietly broken NDAs to hint that disagreements with Vanessa's team made it impossible to keep the momentum Kobe had built. The result is a brand that once felt unstoppable now standing still while the rest of the world moves on. It's a PR nightmare in slow motion, one where clapping back at critics would only make the headlines worse. So here we are, a fortune that once felt untouchable now on a clock. The empire Kobe spent decades building, the security he wanted for his daughters, the global influence he dreamed of, it's all at risk. Is Vanessa preserving his vision, or rewriting it into something smaller, more private, but also more vulnerable? Because here's the reality, empires need momentum. Without new projects, new partnerships, and constant visibility, even a name as big as Kobe Bryant can fade. Maybe Vanessa has a long game we can't see yet. Maybe in a decade, she'll prove everyone wrong, and we'll be talking about how she pulled off one of the greatest turnarounds in sports business history. Or maybe, Kobe's empire will become a cautionary tale about how even the biggest legacies can crumble when the business stops moving. If that happens, you know Stephen Smith will have a field day. So, what do you think? Are we watching a careful preservation of Kobe's dream, or the slow dismantling of it? Let me know, because this story isn't over, and the next chapter could be even messier. And if you're here for the drama, subscribe so you don't miss it when it hits. Vanessa Bryant didn't ask to inherit an empire. Nobody plans for that. But the second Kobe was gone, the empire was hers. Every asset, every brand deal, every unfinished project, every phone call from a business partner asking, "So, what's next?" And at first, the public assumed next would be obvious. Keep the Kobe machine running. Keep the shoes dropping. Keep the youth programs alive. Keep building until the legacy was untouchable. But what happened instead has left even Kobe's closest fans scratching their heads. It started quietly. The Nike fallout wasn't a front-page tabloid scandal, it was more of an inside baseball kind of thing. Sneaker insiders started noticing Kobe merch drying up. No more big releases. No special commemorative drops. People figured maybe it was a supply chain issue. But then word leaked, Vanessa and Nike were at a standoff. Nike wanted to keep Kobe's merch rolling while interest was through the roof, but Vanessa reportedly wanted to lock down production, limit availability, and possibly renegotiate pricing. Negotiations broke down. The partnership ended. And just like that, one of Kobe's most powerful revenue engines was gone at the exact moment it was printing money. This wasn't just about selling sneakers. Nike was Kobe's global billboard. Every new release was free marketing for his other ventures. Without that constant presence, the Kobe brand stopped being a living, breathing force in sportswear. It became nostalgia merch. Then came the lawsuits, which were public and messy. The case against LA County over the crash site photos was emotionally charged and, from a human perspective, completely understandable. Nobody would want those images out there. But money people, cold, detached, spreadsheet-driven types, started whispering about the business cost. LA County reportedly offered more money early on, an amount that could have avoided years of legal bills and the media circus. Vanessa turned it down. The trial went ahead. She won $16 million. On paper, that sounds like a huge victory. But once legal fees and payouts to other victims' families were settled, the actual gain was reportedly far smaller. And while all of that was happening, the rest of Kobe's empire wasn't just frozen, it was melting. The Mamba Academy, one of Kobe's passion projects, was shuttered. Youth outreach programs that carried his name quietly disappeared. Big money international deals Kobe had in the works? His unfinished memoir, a project so in demand that publishers were allegedly lining up to offer millions, never moved forward. No book tour, no Netflix tie-in, no opportunity for fans to see Kobe's life in his own words. This is when the behind-the-scenes chatter started. Former associates, still bound by NDAs, began finding ways to talk without talking. Interviews where someone would start to say something and then stop mid-sentence. Social media posts hinting at frustration. It painted a picture of an empire being actively wound down, not because it was failing, but because the new leadership didn't want to run it the way Kobe had. And here's where things got ominous. Financial analysts, the kind who love to ruin your day with math, started doing the projections. Without steady income from Nike, without global partnerships, without media projects bringing in new revenue, the estate's primary income came from investments Kobe left behind, and from cash reserves. But investments can be unpredictable. Cash reserves, once you start dipping into them for ongoing expenses, don't last forever. If the spending kept up and the business side stayed quiet, they said, Kobe's estate could be in serious financial trouble within 7 to 10 years. Think about that for a second. Kobe Bryant's name is global currency. He was building something that could have lasted for generations, setting up his daughters and their children for life. But even a $600 million fortune can run dry if it's not replenished. And Kobe wasn't coasting before he passed. He had his hands in everything: tech startups, sports drink companies, international sports development, animation studios, even early-stage media production. He'd already won an Oscar for Dear Basketball and was gearing up for more. Animated films were in the works. Streaming platforms were circling for a docuseries. These weren't just passion projects, they were potential gold mines. But one by one they were killed off. The reason? Creative control disputes. Vanessa's team reportedly wanted final say over everything involving Kobe's name. For Hollywood and corporate partners, that was a deal breaker. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith, never shy about speaking his mind, started making comments that fanned the flames. Without naming names directly, he suggested in interviews and on air that some of the post-Kobe decisions didn't make sense from a business standpoint. Translation: emotion was winning over strategy, and it was costing the brand. The missed opportunities list has become almost painful to read. The memoir that would have topped bestseller lists. The docuseries streaming giants were ready to throw millions at. The animation projects that could have spun off into merchandise, TV shows, even theme park attractions. All gone. Kobe's business instincts had always been about momentum, about building layer after layer so that the brand was too big to fail. Without that, the empire has been stuck in neutral, coasting on past glory. And here's the thing about momentum: when it stops, so does attention. The silence from Kobe's former partners is deafening. Tech investors who once bragged about working with him now never bring it up. International sports partners have disappeared from the conversation. Even Hollywood producers who once name-dropped Kobe like he was their lucky charm act like those meetings never happened. Inside the Bryant inner circle, the vibe has reportedly shifted. Some of Kobe's longtime employees have left, unable to reconcile their vision of the brand with Vanessa's. A few have even risked breaking NDAs to hint at the tension. It's the kind of behind-closed-doors friction that rarely stays hidden forever. So where does that leave the empire now? Well, it's still there, for now. The properties, the investments, the name recognition, they all still have value. But value doesn't equal cash flow. Without active partnerships, product lines, or media projects, that value is like a mansion nobody's living in. It looks great from the outside, but it's not paying the bills. And this is where the real question kicks in. Is Vanessa preserving Kobe's legacy exactly as he left it, refusing to let outsiders touch it? Or is she unknowingly shrinking it into something smaller, more private, but also more fragile? It's possible she's playing a long game we can't see yet. Maybe she's holding back until her daughters are older, or until the right partners come along. But it's also possible this is exactly what it looks like: a slow dismantling of one of sports' greatest post-career success stories. Because legacies, even legendary ones, are living things. They need to be fed. They need to evolve. Kobe understood that. He was never going to be the kind of retired athlete who lived off his old highlight reels. He wanted new wins, business wins, creative wins, cultural wins. Without that constant evolution, even the biggest name can start to fade. The danger isn't just financial. It's cultural. Right now, a generation of young fans is growing up knowing Kobe more as a myth than as a living brand. They're not seeing new shoes, new documentaries, new moments to connect with. They're just hearing stories from older fans. And once that gap gets too wide, no amount of nostalgia can close it. Maybe Vanessa will prove everyone wrong. Maybe she's making moves behind the scenes that will bring the empire roaring back in a few years. Or maybe, when the dust settles, we'll be looking at Kobe Bryant's legacy as a cautionary tale, proof that even a $600 million fortune and one of the most beloved names in sports can disappear if the momentum stops. And if that happens? Well, Stephen A. Smith won't just comment on it, he'll turn it into a sermon. So what do you think? Is Kobe's empire in safe hands, or is it already halfway to a financial cliff? Because from here, the next chapter could go either way. And you can bet when it does, it's going to be loud. When you look back at Kobe's career, both on and off the court, it's clear he was never content to be just anything. Just a player? Just a celebrity? The man was building layers, an empire with foundations in sport, storytelling, investment, and global influence. By the time he retired, the name Kobe Bryant didn't just mean basketball, it meant excellence in every arena he touched. And that's the weight Vanessa inherited, whether she wanted it or not. The Nike split was more than just a business hiccup, it was the first domino. That partnership had been the beating heart of Kobe's global visibility. Every shoe drop wasn't just about footwear sales, it was about brand life support. It kept Kobe's image fresh, in circulation, and relevant to every kid who might have been too young to watch him play. Without that constant feed of new designs and marketing, Kobe's image froze in time. And while nostalgia is powerful, it's not infinite. After the Nike collapse, the headlines shifted toward Vanessa's legal battles. The LA County case drew huge public attention, with most people cheering her on. Nobody wants tragedy compounded by exploitation. But the business math was unavoidable. A bigger early settlement could have secured funds without the years-long battle. Instead, the drawn-out fight cost more than it returned in real financial terms, even if the emotional victory was priceless. And while all eyes were on the courtroom, the empire itself quietly kept shrinking. Projects Kobe had been pouring himself into were suddenly gone. The Mamba Academy's closure felt symbolic. This was one of Kobe's deepest passions, his way of mentoring the next generation. Youth programs that had been building momentum were abruptly shut down. The partnerships in overseas markets that Kobe had painstakingly built vanished without explanation. Even his unfinished memoir, a guaranteed bestseller and cultural moment, never saw the light of day. For fans and business observers, this was the turning point. Kobe wasn't just sitting on completed projects when he passed, he was mid-sprint. He was creating a pipeline of future successes that could have rolled out for decades. But with him gone, those projects needed a champion, and that champion was supposed to be Vanessa. Instead, many say she shut the doors, locked the windows, and pulled the shades. And it's not like there weren't people ready to help. Kobe's former business partners, industry friends, and creative collaborators reportedly offered their support. But according to those whispers, some from people still under NDA, Vanessa's team wasn't interested. Creative control was the sticking point. Everyone wanted to tell Kobe's story, but only if they could tell it their way. That's not how Hollywood, or global business, works. And when you can't compromise, you often get nothing. As months turned into years, the estate's revenue sources shifted. Without the constant inflow from Nike, media projects, or international partnerships, the estate leaned more heavily on existing investments and reserves. And this is where the financial forecasts started to turn grim. A big fortune can feel infinite, but high expenses without matching income are like a slow leak in a tire. You might not notice it day to day, but eventually you're riding on rims. Legal fees, property maintenance, security, travel, these are not small bills. And if the money coming in doesn't match the money going out, the clock starts ticking. Financial analysts began quietly saying the number, 7 to 10 years. That's how long they estimated the estate could sustain current spending levels without new major revenue streams. 7 to 10 years until the fortune Kobe built, the one that was supposed to secure his daughter's futures and his global legacy, might be reduced to something far smaller. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith and other sports commentators started dropping pointed remarks. They didn't need to name names. The implication was clear. Decisions that might have felt right emotionally were disastrous financially. And while grief can explain a lot, it doesn't stop the bills from coming. The missed opportunities became almost surreal. A memoir that could have been a publishing event. A docuseries that would have dominated streaming charts. Animated films that could have launched a new brand empire for kids, complete with merchandise, spin-offs, and international appeal. All left to gather dust. Kobe's Oscar win had proven he could dominate in creative fields just like he had in sports. This was supposed to be the next phase, a reinvention that would keep him in the cultural conversation for decades. Instead, the conversation started fading. Former partners noticed. And here's the thing. When an empire is thriving, everyone wants to be attached to it. When it starts slowing down, silence sets in. Tech investors stopped bringing Kobe up in meetings. International contacts drifted away. Hollywood producers stopped name-dropping their Kobe connections. It's not malice, it's business gravity. The tension moves to where the momentum is. Inside the inner circle, tensions were reportedly growing. Staff turnover increased. Some longtime employees left quietly, others more abruptly. The few who have spoken, often without revealing too much, hint at a fundamental clash. Kobe's vision of constant expansion versus a more closed, controlled approach under Vanessa. The result? Stalemate. And stalemates are dangerous in business. They're not explosive like scandals or hostile takeovers, they're slow. They let the competition pass you. They let the audience forget you. In Kobe's case, the danger isn't just another player stepping into his cultural space. His legacy is unique. The danger is simply fading from active relevance. The younger generation, the one Kobe hoped to inspire, isn't seeing new moments to connect with. They're not getting fresh stories, new merch, or creative projects to make them feel like Kobe is still part of the conversation. Without those touch points, Kobe becomes a legend in the past tense, a figure you hear about but don't experience in real time. Maybe Vanessa has a master plan. Maybe she's biding her time, waiting for the perfect moment to relaunch everything on her terms. Maybe she's protecting Kobe's image from being watered down by over-commercialization. Those would be noble reasons. But if that's the plan, it's a dangerous gamble. Because every year without new content, new deals, or new public moments is another year the brand drifts further from the center of the culture. The truth about empires is they're like sharks. They have to keep moving to survive. Kobe's empire was swimming full speed ahead when he passed. In the years since, it feels like it's been treading water. And treading water only works for so long before you start to sink. In the end, it comes down to one question: what's the goal? If the goal is to preserve Kobe exactly as he was on the day he passed, frozen in time, then maybe the strategy makes sense. But if the goal was to fulfill his vision, to keep building, keep expanding, keep reaching new audiences, then the current approach is the opposite of what he was doing. And if it's the latter, you already know Stephen Smith will be ready to turn it into the kind of headline you can't scroll past.